Heavy rain lashes against the gray concrete of the metropolitan streets. Shuqing runs through the downpour, his clothes soaked through to the skin. He pushes through the heavy doors of his dormitory building, gasping for air. Strange, rhythmic voices echo down from the upper stairwell. At the top of the landing, a woman stands as still as a statue, staring directly into his soul. Shuqing recoils in terror, his fingers fumbling and dropping his room keys. The woman mirrors his movement, stepping back into the darkness with a predator's grace. He assumes she must be a cosplayer, given the incredible detail of her ancient silk robes. He gathers his courage and slowly walks past her toward his apartment door. Suddenly, her sharp voice rings out, demanding that he stop where he stands. Shuqing stammeringly explains that he simply lives in this room. He quickly slips inside and shuts the door, leaving the strange woman alone in the rain-chilled hall. The warmth of the apartment begins to soothe his nerves as he peels off his wet clothes. He calls out to his cat, Melon, who trotters over with an expectant gaze. A cold can of cola provides a much-needed fizz of energy after the chaotic encounter. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he leans in to peer through the tiny peephole. The hallway appears empty at first, making him wonder if she finally left. He opens the door an inch and she suddenly appears right in front of him like a ghost. Feeling a pang of guilt, he offers her an umbrella to help her get home. She stares at the umbrella as if it were a strange piece of alien technology. With a serious expression, she asks where exactly they are located. He explains they are on Beiwang Road, but the name clearly means nothing to her. She introduces herself as a member of the prestigious Yan clan, looking utterly unable to leave her in the cold. Shuqing invites her inside to dry off while he seeks help. As she enters, a loud TV commercial suddenly blares to life. Thinking a demon is trapped in the glowing glass, she draws her blade in a flash of steel. With a single, powerful strike, she slices through the TV screen. Shuqing stands frozen, watching his expensive electronics shower the floor in sparks. She turns to him with bloodshot eyes, demanding to know if the tiny people inside are dead. He frantically tries to calm her down, gesturing for her to lower the weapon. She slowly sheathes the blade, though she remains vigilant of every shadow in the room. She asks about the glowing brick in his hand that he was talking to earlier. Shuqing realizes with a sinking feeling that this woman isn't a cosplayer at all. He asks her who the current emperor is to test her sanity. She answers with a name from the Tang dynasty, claiming it is the 16th year of Kaiyuan. He quickly scrolls through his phone, and his heart stops when the dates perfectly align. A sudden loud knock on the door causes her to reach for her sword once more. It is only the delivery man with a burger, but to her he looks like a strange intruder. He explains that the man is simply a food messenger, not a threat to her life. She watches him with narrowed eyes as he pulls a strange, meat-filled bun from the bag. He spills his cola by accident, and she panics, thinking the bubbling black liquid is poison. She pins him to the ground, her sword pressing against his throat as she demands the truth. To prove it's safe, Shuqing grabs the can and chugs the remaining fizzing liquid himself. She eventually lets him up, though her trust in this strange future is clearly fragile. Shuqing realizes he cannot simply let her wander back out into the rain and certain arrest. He explains the gravity of the situation. She is over 1,000 years away from her home. Her face crumples into shock as she realizes everyone she knew has been dead for centuries. He promises to hide her for now, but only if she agrees to never draw her sword without permission. She finally agrees to his terms, placing the heavy steel blade onto his coffee table. Far below on the street, a dark black car pulls up, its headlights fixed on his window. Shuqing watched the black car from behind the curtain until its engine finally cut out. Jiang Hai stood in the center of the room, with her hand resting firmly on her sword hilt. He realized that keeping an ancient general in a small apartment required a complete lifestyle change. The next morning began with the absolute necessity of finding her clothes that didn't scream historical reenactment. Jiang Hai poked the denim fabric as if it were a strange piece of dragon skin. She refused to trade her silk robes for what she called peasant trousers. Shuqing spent an hour explaining that modern warriors wore sneakers and hoodies for stealth. The mention of stealth finally piqued the interest of the Great Tang's finest scout. They eventually settled on an oversized black hoodie and cargo pants that hid her athletic build. She struggled with the zipper for 5 minutes before nearly slicing the metal with a dagger. Shuqing warned her that she must never draw a weapon in the shopping mall. Walking through the sliding glass doors of the mall felt like passing through a magical barrier to her. The sheer volume of neon lights and electronic music made her reach for a sword that wasn't there. Qing grabbed her hand to lead her through the thick crowd of teenagers and shoppers. She marveled at the escalator, suspecting it was a trap designed to throw her off balance. Back at home, the real challenge began with the introduction of the smartphone. She believed the tiny screen contained trapped souls because the people inside kept talking to her. It took 3 hours just to teach her how to swipe without trying to crush the glass. When she discovered she could see maps of the entire city from the sky, her eyes widened in shock. She immediately began identifying the high ground and potential choke points of the neighborhood. Qing realized he was training a lethal weapon to navigate his peaceful suburb. Dinner was another trial, as she tried to use her chopsticks to catch a fly in midair. She spoke of the grand banquets in Chang'an and how the meat tasted like sunshine. Qing saw a flicker of profound loneliness in her eyes that no technology could cure. By midnight, Jiang Hai insisted that her muscles were turning to water without training. Despite his better judgment, Qing agreed to take her to a nearby deserted park. They crept out of the building, avoiding the security cameras like characters in a spy movie. The cold night air hit her face, and she moved with a grace that seemed to defy gravity. She drew her sword under the moon, the steel singing as it sliced through the air. Qing watched from the shadows, mesmerized by the lethal beauty of her movements. She performed a sequence of strikes that would have been impossible for any modern athlete. Suddenly, she froze, her blade pointed toward a dense thicket of bushes. Qing's heart hammered against his ribs as he scanned the darkness for movement. A stray dog darted out, and Jiang Hai lowered her weapon with a click of her tongue. He took a deep breath, realizing how close they had come to a public disaster. They hurried back to the car, the adrenaline still coursing through their veins. As they pulled into the apartment complex, he noticed the same black car from earlier was still there. The driver's side window was tinted, but he could feel eyes watching them through the glass. Qing hurried Jiang Hai inside, locking the door with every bolt he possessed. He checked his phone to find a message from an unknown number. "I know who she is." Outside, the black car's engine finally roared to life, but it didn't drive away. A heavy knock echoed through the hallway, vibrating against the very door they just locked. A heavy knock echoed through the hallway, vibrating against the very door they just locked. Qing quickly gestured for Jiang Hai to hide in the bedroom before the visitor could see her. It was only his father, acting as a landlord, demanding the monthly rent and complaining about his unemployment. Once the old man left, Qing slumped against the door, his heart racing with the fear of discovery. He realized then that Jiang Hai could not remain a ghost in his house forever without a legal name. The next evening, he invited her to the balcony to witness the city's neon lights stretching to the horizon. Jiang Hai looked at the glowing skyline and asked if her ancient capital of Chang'an was truly gone. Qing gently explained that while the era had passed, her spirit and story remained in the history books. He contacted his childhood friend Qin Hao, a police officer, to find a way to register an undocumented person. They met at a crowded barbecue stall where the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Qin Hao warned him that fabricating an identity was a serious crime that could lead to imprisonment. Qing carefully framed the story as a girl who lost her memory and all her family in a distant province. The officer narrowed his eyes, sensing that his friend was hiding a much deeper secret. He explained the long process of DNA testing and background checks required for a new ID card. Without any birth records or biological relatives, Jiang Hai's existence was a legal impossibility. When he returned, he found Jiang Hai practicing her writing, her desk covered in modern characters. She had successfully learned to navigate the internet to research the Yan clan in historical archives. She asked him why modern people didn't carry swords if they were so obsessed with martial arts movies. Qing laughed, explaining that laws and order had replaced the need for personal steel. Jiang Hai handed him a small piece of ancient silver she had carried through time. She told him it was her last treasure and that she wanted him to use it to pay for her modern lessons. Qing refused the silver, promising that her presence was more valuable than any antique. Days later, a letter arrived from the city administration regarding a special registration program for the homeless. Qin Hao had pulled some strings, getting her an appointment under a special circumstances amnesty. Qing spent the afternoon teaching her how to smile for a camera without looking like a threat. She kept reflexively reaching for her invisible sword every time the camera flash went off. Finally, they captured a perfect shot of her looking like a normal, beautiful girl of the 21st century. On the day of the appointment, he bought her a new, modest dress that blended into the crowd. They walked into the government building, the air thick with the scent of paper and floor wax. Jiang Hai gripped Shu Qing's sleeve as she saw the sheer number of people moving with purpose. Their number was called, and they sat before a stern official who scrutinized their forged backstory. Shu Qing's palms sweated as the official asked Jiang Hai for her place of birth. With unexpected grace, Jiang Hai spoke clearly about a small fictional village they had memorized together. The official stamped the final document and told them they would receive the card in 2 weeks. Walking out of the building, Shu Qing felt as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Jiang Hai looked at him and said that he truly was a great general of this new world. That night, they celebrated with a feast of fried chicken and cola, her new favorite modern delicacies. The cat, Melon, curled up between them, sensing the newfound peace in the household. Jiang Hai finally put her sword in a decorative display case, signifying her choice to live as a woman of the present. They sat together on the balcony one last time, ready to face whatever the 21st century had in store for them. Although she was born 1,200 years ago, Jiang Hai had finally found her home in the here and now.